Um, you know, to see perps of all sorts just having to live this life where they think they can gaslight me to accepting this manipulation, it's kind of humiliating. I gotta be honest. And I trust me. I really don't make it easy for them. Really bring the mirror close to them and just push them to see how mentally backward they become, how they get on the spectrum. I'm on these calls and see how create this fantasy of what this program is really about. It's obvious what it's really about, but this fantasy of what they want to portray this to be about is so sad. It is so sad. I have this woman, and unfortunately, actually, you can see a picture of her. It's a blurred version of her. Oh my gosh, this woman has been humiliated by reality. When I started working in this place, her being involved and trying to really gaslight me, but she gaslight me like a child would gaslight me. She's like, oh my gosh, we're so listen. I find out people are just projecting reality onto me. They're the one doing things to children. They're the one harming children. They're the one the threat to children. And by the way, finding out these entities running this program actually have a problem with pedophilia, a serious problem, to the point where they were ranked for the amount of child porn, which you're going to hear. But before that happened, before I found out all about this, I remember this woman literally laughing, making herself laugh. It was a fake laughter, as always. She'll make herself laugh, like, ha ha ha, yeah, we're so projecting, ha 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 ha. Like, okay. Now, obviously, today she's not laughing the same way. To fake laugh. Because it is a problem that's been ongoing with pedophilia in the entities, the agencies that literally have created this technology, have created this program. Obviously, we know the Department of Defense is obviously behind this program. There's no other governmental entity that is capable of doing this, and it's definitely not this bullshit reality where they try to make it seem like, no, we are this group of femme fatale. This technology is coming from I don't understand how somebody so smart can dumb herself down to this level. But I'm glad she's doing it, because I really wish her nothing but that, and I mean that out of mean spirits. You see a picture over there. You see a child. What they try to do is no, you know what we're doing? We're making your brain the same as the brain that you have around that age of that child over there. And the reason why they're doing that is because when I was a kid about that age, I did something dumb as a child can do, an impulsive act of a child. You can obviously see this as a child. This is not somebody you really would what's the word? You would not you would not look at this kid as a kid that, or you look at a kid that this child is still, brain is still developing. A child making an impulsive act this way is what a child is capable of doing. You will never compare an adult brain to a child of that age. Oh, guess who's doing that? Yes, this person over there, a very smart woman. But when it's convenient to her, oh, you can see people dumbing themselves down. But somehow reality has been just embarrassing her. Oh, when it comes to whatever work she's involved in, when it comes to something non-related to my targeting, you can see the intellectualness of everything she said, the common sense, the rationality. And then also retardation mode, excuse for my language, but that's the best way I can describe this. Truly turning into somebody who's mentally on the spectrum. With logic of some child logic. A grown, smart woman, a professional woman turning into a child mentally. And the humiliation of reality has been too much. First of all, who you think you can fool to present yourself as some kind of non-governmental entities doing that to me? As if this is some kind of feminist protecting children. What? It's so bad, the things this program does to people. It has caused not only torture, torment, destruction, but caused mass shootings. In every spectrum of the ways, in every way you can imagine, this is the most foul thing that you can imagine that is happening. Led by these governmental entities with consistent issue that you're going to hear. Consistent issue. The issue is happening listen, this issue with pedophilia in this agency is somehow keep coming up. In 2019, which is not too long ago, they had to create a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act. You know what this bill is supposed to do? Because the previous year, in 2018, guess what? A Child Protective Service was looking over all the computer network in the United States, which was about 3,000. The real number is 2,891. So let's run it to 2,900 networks, internet networks, computer networks in the United States. They found this disgusting trend and reality that the Department of Defense network was a top tier network for child porn being accessed and trafficked using this network. Ranked 19th out of 2,900, making them a top tier. Now, before that information was known by me, they were laughing. Oh yeah, we're so projecting, and it was like so comical and so like theatrical too. She would make herself laugh. Oh yeah, we're so projecting. I'm like, what? This grown-ass woman is acting this way? This woman respects herself. How can she even the way she's acting is so childish. Oh, you were so projecting. And now it's another level. Not only I'm not projecting, but this is truly an issue. I'm so on top of it. Actually, I underestimated how projecting these people are. It's so bad that literally there is a full-on ranking in the United States about how much child porn this entity's network is trafficking. That they were ranked in the top tier. They call them a top tier network for child porn trafficking. The DOD, the Department of Defense network. Matter of fact, it kept coming back that before that, in 2007, there was this huge investigation that was nothing related to the government in regard of this like child porn website. Guess who they keep finding? Some kind of fucking, excuse my language, some kind of employees working at the government, from the DOD to the NSA in the DOD, from DARPA. These people were purchasing and subscribing to child porn. This thing kept coming back. BuzzFeed in 2021. This is how I started discovering. Matter of fact, the reason why I know about this trend, this issue, is because in 2021, 2022, BuzzFeed came up with an article calling out the CIA specifically and other agencies there, the US intelligence agencies, having this pattern with pedophilia and nothing happening to them. But they keep catching people, not only downloading child porn, but some of them are actually doing things to children. And a lot of them, nothing happens to them. The worst case scenario in some of the cases is they fired them. In other cases, they prosecuted the individuals who were not only doing the child porn issue, not even the child porn, doing things to children, but the prosecution also was because they were also leaking information that they shouldn't be. They were mishandling private, like top secret information that shouldn't. And this is what really triggered that. It is wow. But you see this woman, a grown-ass woman, professional woman, making herself laugh, and that was before. Now she doesn't even want to be on camera. I pray that she get on camera, and I want to be on camera with her. And I make sure I make some comments. Hey, I hope you're having a very top tier day. So she understand that. You know what I'm trying to say, right? I hope you have a great day. I hope your day is on the top of the day. You know how these people try to present themselves? They try to play this fierce femme fatale. It's so disgusting. Because first of all, you know the program torture a lot of women and children. But they say, oh, we're so badass. We're so fierce. We're so daring. When we do this, it's feminism. It's fierceness. When the truth is, the government is running this program tortures women, and a lot of women, children, and rewire the brain in ways that you're going to hear. Which, by the way, these people are supposed to gaslight you when your brain is rewired. Listen, the humiliation that there's somebody literally say, oh, by the way, what they do is they literally rewire your thought process and your brain. Literally saying that word. I don't know this person who said that personally. He said the same thing I was saying before that. But in fact, there's something called EEG cloning, EEG heterodyning, which literally says that EEG cloning, heterodyning means that not only they capture your neural network, monitor it, but can and manipulate it and manipulate it and put it back in your brain to get you to react the way they want you to react. They design the reaction they want you to have. Matter of fact, with me, it's like, no, with you, we're just monitoring. Yeah, okay, you clown. Because this program is about developing this technology that's used as a weapon onto us. So the way they rewire us is weaponized. And you have people like her, like, who wants me to be like, oh my gosh, she's such an intellectual. I don't believe that they manipulate my brain. Oh, you're such a progressive individual. You know what? This is a different program. Even though I was saying these things before, I knew these things were actually being said by others. And they try to rewire everything, because I said the same thing before knowing that. I started working in this place later on, after being aware of being a target individual, making videos prior to that, about 40 or so, maybe 20 or something like that. Saying things, even before making videos, I was writing letters not knowing that I was a target individual. Saying my brain hasn't been the same since August 19, 2019. My thought process have been manipulated. My brain reaction is reacting differently. Before I knew somebody else was saying the same thing. Matter of fact, there's people who are saying that are not even target individual. Are people who've been interacting with target individual. Survey them and saying the same thing. We figure out that that this is happening. And some of them are doctors. They're intellectuals of some sort. Saying I'm talking to people all around the country. They're all saying the same thing. This is a cognitive behavior manipulation or behavior change. As I'm saying that, they try to create some pain in my toe to interrupt me, because this thing can also create pain. But they are literally saying the same thing. So you have people like her who wanted to delude herself that this is some kind of fantasy movie where there are some fierce group of femme fatale trash. You are not that. You're the opposite of that. You're low life trash who is a coward who just end up participating in a program that torture not only men but a lot of women and children. And the government is running this program. Now this fucking fierce femme fatale group of people, do you want me to believe it is? Of course that's not true. I don't understand how, do you think, do I look like somebody who can be accepting of your retardations? You can make yourself left in every way possible. I know you're a very smart woman. You're a very smart person. But do you think I don't get what you're trying to do? So, you were so projecting. What? How? That's why I need to, this is why I'm going to be like, oh, you know what? She's making herself left and saying that. And then at the end of this call, she thanks me, but the way she thanked me, oh, thank you, Pedro. I'm like, awkward. Very, very awkward, because I'm looking at this picture, the way they mapped me, right? And you're going to listen to this issue that's been ongoing over and over. Right? So you're saying that you're making my brain like this kid, saying, not like this kid, but saying you're making my brain be the same as the brain as me as a child, as around the same age as this kid. Come on. Well, you seeing this thing? 19th out of 2,900 for trafficking the most child porn. This is obviously the DOD. And by the way, we know DARPA is obviously behind this. DARPA is also part of the DOD. By the way, they found a program manager at DARPA with child porn on his work computer once again. This thing keeps coming back. DARPA has been working on how to alter the mind using electromagnetic frequencies and radiations in the 60s. You're going to hear that. It was called Project Pandora. These things, this is not me coming out from some random places. Literally, History Channel called that out. History Channel says in 1960, 1965, you're going to hear where I get it from. DARPA, which was called ARPA at the time, was using electromagnetic frequency and radiation to see how they can alter the mind. Now, they still think I should be like, you know what, this is some femme fatale, woke group of... Because we know those people will not be compromisable. Are you serious? Listen, I'm going to go through horrible things. This piece of trash wanted to do these things to me, thinking that they're going to create this movie of a false reality. They can thank me as much as you want, but you're gonna get yours. Do you remember when you were laughing to yourself, making yourself laugh, this fake laughter? Oh, we're projecting. Oh my God. Oh, like what? You're gonna hear literally say, oh, no, they are rewiring the thought process. They are rewiring the brain. This is like an offensive information warfare. You're gonna hear this man say, oh, the future of warfare in the future is gonna be cognitive warfare. That's why they're using test subject as such. To alter the mind, personality rebuilt. You're going to hear this man say, oh yeah, this EEG cloning. So what they're doing is just get the neural network, not only monitor it, but manipulate this neural network and put it back in the target, in the victim, to make them experience what they want that person to experience. Literally saying that. But I should be looking at them like, no, they're mapping. It's something they're making me think the way this child was thinking. Like me as the age of this child. And you're going to hear, oh, by the way, all these entities have been working on it for years. Oh, listen to these issues. Child Protective Services kept seeing this issue, this pattern of this DoD network ranked so high for child porn trafficking that now they're so happy that there's a bill to try to limit the amount of child porn being trafficked using, and let me repeat that, using the DoD computers, meaning the computers given to them for work, and then using the DoD network to traffic this. Listen, I am so thankful to God that I never had to dumb myself down, but opportunists like them, trying to enjoy what they're part of, but dumbing themselves down. Trying to make themselves believe this fantasy of what they're part of. You've seen the horribleness of what they do to women. I was on TI Day 2020 saying I myself am a victim of this program, but this is not only happening to me, but it's happening to men, women, children all around the world. And then you hear people saying that in the different languages, saying how they're being destroyed. I'm part of these people who are calling out that, listen, this is destroying life of not only men, but women and children. And it's global. That's why I will never let them live their fantasy. I can't. They can make themselves laugh, do this gaslighting as if, do I look like somebody who can gaslight? But if anything, just like look at you making yourself laugh like this. Grown-ass woman. Listen to this.
Interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions. Or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And They used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control the brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons. Microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
Thank you.
Will carry the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. It's breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape, and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
Breakdown tactic of belief systems into human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
With the human nervous system, in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices. Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell.
What is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the...
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. Is somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care.
All of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to here is aggravation for every single second of my privacy that you have taken away from me and my family. Then said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
Human nervous system, in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't.
Be my guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities, rebuild.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, this,
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Making this, the Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
Links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who were being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So, Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the technology within that office space however you want, and you certainly don't have the right to use it in a criminal manner. So essentially, this bill is trying to do, again, two things. It's trying to limit that and crack down on the misuse of those computer systems, but it also is going after those individuals. One of the things that this bill attempts to do, and there's a Senate version of it put together by Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, but essentially what these two bills are trying to do is say, look, the Department of Defense does not have an adequate way of responding to this, of tracking.
Pornography Watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services. The Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018. Meadows said the
Okay, so they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do that.
Justice. You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock up my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of the...
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
I mean, if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
Involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
Speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay.
and I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
we need this to stop.
Electronic harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
we need this to stop.
Electronic harassment, microwave torture.
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Wishes to hand down.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying. I'm making this video
in an attempt to expose this horrific nightmare.
Hello, I'm making this video to honor the third annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi, my name is...
But I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to get shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, woman, what real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow females? Days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, you know, they
already being used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.